My sister sold her loyalty to my stepsister and thought I'd stay silent at my wedding. Let me tell you about the day I realized blood really isn't always thicker than money. My name's Savannah. I'm 29, live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I just got married 2 months ago. Should have been the best time of my life. Should have been. But let me take you back to 6 weeks before the wedding, when everything started to unravel. I was in the middle of a cupcake tasting session with my mom, going over flower arrangements, cake tiers, and table runners. My phone buzzed. It was my sister Ellie. I smiled when I saw her name. She'd been my rock since we were kids. Grew up sharing a tiny room, matching journals, and whispered secrets long past bedtime. She was my maid of honor. My only bridesmaid, actually. So I answered like I always did. Cheerful. Hey you, what's up? But the tone in her voice was off. I knew it immediately. Hey, Save. Can we talk? I stepped outside, heart already thudding. She got right to it. Said she was stressed. Work was too much. Life had gotten hectic. She didn't think she could show up for me the way I deserved. So she was stepping down as maid of honor. I stood there frozen. Inhale. Exhale. But, Ellie, the wedding's in 6 weeks, I know. I'm sorry. It's just a lot. I'll still be there. I'll just not be standing next to you. She kept talking, trying to sound supportive. She'd still help out, still cheer me on from the front row. I wanted to scream, but instead, I swallowed it. Okay, I said. If that's what you need. We hung up. And that night, I cried into my fiancé Noah's chest. He held me, confused but comforting, telling me maybe Ellie just needed space, that she'd come around. She didn't. 3 weeks passed, and then the truth hit me harder than anything I could have imagined. I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw it, a post from Brielle, our stepsister. Yes, that Brielle. The one our dad married into when I was 16. The one who wore designer everything and always made it clear she considered Ellie and me the discount bin sisters. She had posted a photo in a bright gold dress, beaming next to Ellie. Caption: so honored to have my gorgeous bridesmaid Ellie by my side on my special day. Hashtag sister goals, hashtag bachelorette weekend vibes. I stared at it for minutes. My head spun. Brielle's wedding wasn't for another year. So why the hell was Ellie suddenly her bridesmaid? Why was she with her on a bachelorette weekend? Why had she quit my wedding but was living it up with her? That night, I confronted her. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations. You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. I showed up at her apartment, shaking, heart in my throat. She opened the door barefoot, holding a wine glass, acting like nothing was wrong. So, what's up? I didn't even sit down. Why are you in Brielle's bridal party? Her smile vanished. She stammered. I pushed. She cracked. Turns out, Brielle offered her money. Not just a little. Thousands. 5 grand, she admitted. For the dress, the trip, and a little extra. Because apparently Brielle needed someone reliable and not basic. Ellie had agreed. Said yes. Took the cash. And ditched her own sister's wedding. I couldn't speak. My throat locked up. She tried to fix it, of course. Said she'd buy me something special. Maybe that painting I'd been eyeing from that Charleston gallery. Said it wasn't personal. It was just money. Just money. I walked out of there and didn't look back. But I didn't scream. I didn't tell anyone. Instead, I rewrote my speech and planned to ruin her with nothing but the truth. I didn't tell Noah what Ellie had done. Not right away. I mean, how do you even explain something like that without sounding like the villain in your own story? Hey babe, turns out my sister took a $5,000 bribe from our spoiled stepsister to skip being my maid of honor. But don't worry, she promised to buy me art. Noah would have lost it. He never liked Brielle to begin with. Said she treated people like background extras in her reality show life. So I kept it to myself. Smiled through vendor meetings, texted thank yous to people who didn't deserve them, and kept Ellie's betrayal zipped up like a secret wound. But the thing about wounds? They don't stay hidden for long. 2 weeks before the wedding, Ellie showed up at my door. Unannounced. Holding a painting. It was the one I loved. The seascape from Gallery Aiken. Blues and grays, crashing waves, thick brushstrokes that looked like motion frozen in time. She handed it over like a peace offering. Saw it was still available, so figured this might help. I took it. I even managed to smile. But I didn't invite her in. She lingered anyway. Save, I didn't do it to hurt you. I just, look, Brielle said she needed me. She made it sound like she was falling apart. And I thought, maybe you'd understand? You took a payday to abandon me. What is it you think I'm supposed to understand, Ellie? She looked down, shame written all over her face. I didn't mean for it to blow up like this, and yet, it had. She started to cry. I didn't comfort her. I'm not a bad sister, she said quietly. Then why did you sell me out like one? She didn't have an answer. Eventually, she left. I leaned the painting against the wall and stared at it for hours. It was beautiful, and I hated it. The next day, I took it to a resale shop and sold it for half its value. I donated every cent to the local women's shelter under Ellie's name. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming something. My voice. My peace. And that's when I decided what I'd do. No yelling. No dramatic confrontation. Just my wedding. My moment. My stage. And a speech they'd never forget. The day finally came. Everything was perfect. The venue looked like a dream. Noah looked like a man straight out of a movie. And I, for the first time in months, felt powerful. Not because I looked great, but because I was finally done playing nice. The ceremony flew by in a blur of vows and happy tears. And then came the reception. I grabbed the mic time for the bride's speech. Ellie was seated in the second row, not at the bridal table. She looked unsure. Nervous. Good. I started with gratitude. Thanked our guests. Thanked Noah's family. Thanked our best friend Harper, who had stepped up last minute as maid of honor. Harper, who held me when I broke down. Who never asked for anything in return. Who made me laugh when I wanted to disappear. And then, I looked directly at Ellie. I didn't thank her. I didn't mention her. Not once. And I ended with this. Some people talk about sisterhood like it's automatic. Like it's something that comes with blood or paperwork. But real sisterhood, that's something you prove. With loyalty. With presence. With choices. I'm grateful today not for the title of sisterhood, but for the truth it revealed. Thank you, Harper, for being mine. Silence. Then applause. And the look on Ellie's face? It was the first time I saw her truly realize what she'd lost. Not just the title, but the relationship. I left the mic. Noah squeezed my hand. You okay? I smiled. Yeah, I really am. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. The energy in the room shifted right after my speech. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't loud. It was that soft, creeping kind of tension that slips in when people hear something they weren't supposed to. Something real. And the message was clear. Ellie sat frozen, champagne flute untouched. Her smile, that practiced, perfect smile she wore like armor, had completely disappeared. Brielle, sitting next to her in her too tight designer dress, looked pissed. Like someone had just stolen the spotlight she paid for. I didn't look at either of them again. Instead, I focused on Harper. She leaned in, whispering, "Did you just declare emotional war?" I smirked. No, I just ended it. The rest of the evening went on like nothing happened, at least on the surface. Dinner was served. Noah's uncle made a dad joke-filled toast. We cut the cake. First dances happened, but eyes kept darting toward Ellie, and she kept avoiding mine. She left before the bouquet toss. No goodbyes. No hugs. Just a silent exit, clutching her little silver clutch like it could protect her from the truth she'd been hit with. I found out later she cried in the parking lot. Apparently, Brielle tried to comfort her, and she snapped back. You said it wouldn't matter. You said she'd never find out. Classic Brielle. She didn't understand loyalty. She thought everything could be bought, including family. But what she didn't realize, what they both didn't realize, was that the real damage wasn't in being left out of a wedding. It was in watching someone choose cash over connection. And the consequences were only just beginning. The next morning, Noah and I boarded a flight to San Diego for our honeymoon. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. We were 30,000 feet above the mess when the messages started rolling in. 38 calls from Ellie. 12 from my mom. 5 from Brielle, all unread, all ignored. My heart thudded a little when I saw Noah frown at his screen. He never frowns on vacation. What is it? I asked. He turned his phone toward me. Ellie, she's messaging me now. What? Screenshots. Voice notes. A long wall of text saying she never meant to hurt me. That I misunderstood everything. That she'd been manipulated by Brielle and was only trying to keep peace. He scrolled further. There was a voice note. We both listened. Savannah doesn't get it. I didn't betray her. I just had to make a choice. I thought she'd be fine. She's always fine. But maybe she needs to grow up and stop making people feel like they owe her everything. Noah blinked. Well, I took his phone and deleted it. I'm done. No more space for excuses. No more room for people who think silence means forgiveness. You sure? He asked. Positive. Then he sent her a message. Don't contact me again. What you did to Savannah was selfish, and now you're just doubling down. We're not doing this. Not now. Not ever again. Simple. Brutal. Final. I leaned into him. That was sexy. He smiled. I aimed to please. The rest of the honeymoon was perfect. Beach walks. Lazy brunches. Sunset wine. Laughter that came easily again. For the first time in years, I felt clean, like I'd scrubbed off years of playing nice. We landed back in Charleston a week later to find the drama waiting on our doorstep. A note taped to our front door. We need to talk. Please. Ellie, I tore it up and left it in the trash. Because here's the truth. You can beg for forgiveness. You can send gifts. You can write a novel in text form. But if you never meant to protect someone in the first place, then don't act shocked when they stop protecting you. By the time we stepped back into our house, the air in Charleston had that sticky summer weight to it. Humid, heavy, expectant. Just like the mood. I tossed my suitcase on the couch. Noah went to unpack. And I stood there in the kitchen, staring at the fridge magnet that read, Family First. I pulled it off and dropped it in the drawer. My phone buzzed again. Ellie. Of course. She'd switched from calls to emails now. The subject line of the most recent one? You took it too far, I didn't even open it. Instead, I sat down and opened a folder I hadn't touched since the wedding planning started. It was full of little things. Receipts, handwritten notes, lists from the early days of planning. Right on top was Ellie's original to-do list as maid of honor. Underlined. Color-coded. Venue visits. Dress shopping. Bachelorette coordination. Emergency backup lipstick. All undone. All abandoned. It hit me harder than I expected, not anger, but disappointment. The kind that sits deep in your bones, slow and cold. And then my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Ellie. It was my mom. We need to talk. Ellie's a mess. I stared at it. Then Noah came around the corner, towel slung over his shoulder, holding his phone like it was radioactive. Okay, so you're not gonna like this, he said. What now? He handed it to me. It was a message from Brielle. Hey, look, I know things got a little dramatic, but I really think this can all be fixed. I'm throwing a brunch next weekend, family only. You guys should come. We're still sisters after all. Don't let a little tension ruin that. I laughed. Out loud. Family only? That was rich. I took his phone and typed one word. No. No smiley face. No explanation. Just no. And I blocked her. That night, Noah and I sat down and talked it out. Really talked. Not about weddings or drama. About what we wanted going forward. About what family meant. Noah, ever the peacemaker, tried to play devil's advocate. Maybe she feels guilty. Maybe she wants to make it right. I sipped my tea. Noah, if guilt came with a price tag, Brielle would have just tried to buy her way out of this too, he nodded. Fair point. The next day, I agreed to one thing. A meeting. Not for Ellie. Not for Brielle. For me. I wanted to say it. Everything I never got to say. So we set it up. Neutral ground. A rented room at a local library. Bright lights. No distractions. They came. Ellie and Brielle. Even my parents showed up. Mom clutched her pearls like she was about to faint from the tension. Dad kept looking at the floor. Ellie spoke first. Savannah, I just want to say no. I stood up. Held my ground. You don't get to speak first. You already took that from me once you went quiet. I turned to Brielle. You paid her. Paid her to ditch me. And then acted like I was overreacting when I found out. You don't get to throw money at a wound and expect it to heal. Brielle rolled her eyes. It wasn't a bride. It was an opportunity. Well, that's what you're calling it? I turned to my parents. And you too. You knew. You heard the rumors. You saw her bachelorette posts. You let it happen. And not one of you said anything to me. Not when Mom looked down. Dad opened his mouth. Closed it. I don't want your excuses. I don't want your regrets. I want distance. I want peace. And I'm not going to get either with you all dragging your drama into my life. Ellie finally spoke. I thought I could fix it. I thought if I bought you something meaningful, it would be okay. It never was about the painting, Ellie. It was about knowing I wasn't worth loyalty when it cost something. She started crying again. I walked out before she finished. Because I didn't need her tears anymore. I needed freedom. By the time I got home from the library showdown, I felt like someone had wrung my soul dry. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from running or lifting or staying up late. It's the kind that comes from finally saying the things you've been biting your tongue about for years. That kind of truth has weight. And I've been carrying it too long. Noah was waiting on the porch, sipping iced tea, I scanning the driveway like he expected a mob to roll up. When I told him everything, he just nodded slowly and said, So, was it nuclear? Nuclear enough, I said. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. That we could get back to real life. Work. Brunch. Lazy Sundays. But then the explosion hit. And this time, it didn't start with me. It started with Brielle. She'd always been careful, polished, manipulative in a socialite way, smooth, charming, with just enough plausible deniability to keep people guessing. But she wasn't as smart as she thought. A week later, news broke that Brielle's fiancé, Carter, the rich, buttoned-up finance bro she was planning a winter wedding with, had called off the engagement. The reason? His credit card had been flagged for a $19,300 charge to an events consulting firm, which, turns out, was just Brielle's friend funneling money to Ellie for maid of honor services. Yep, she didn't just pay Ellie. She stole from her own fiancé to do it. Apparently, Carter found out when he started prepping taxes. Then he confronted her, and she denied it, until he got the receipts. Literally, he ended it. Publicly. I didn't even find out from family. I found out from Harper, who texted me a screenshot of Brielle's suddenly deactivated Instagram. The queen of curated perfection? Vanished. Then came the messages. From my mom. From Ellie. Even from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Suddenly everyone wanted to talk. Apologies. Clarifications. Savannah, you were right all along. I ignored every single one. Until I got one final call. From my dad. Just listen, sweetheart. Please, I'll let him speak. He told me Brielle's entire story was unraveling. That the wedding was officially canceled. That Ellie was having a breakdown. That mom felt ashamed. And then he said the thing I wasn't expecting. I wish we'd stood up for you sooner. I stayed silent. Because I knew what was coming next. We'd love to come by. Make amends. Maybe Sunday? There it was. The same script. Say sorry. Sweep it under the rug. Start over like none of it ever happened. But I wasn't in the mood for reruns. I said no. No more brunches. No more guilt trips disguised as family bonding. No more trying to squeeze myself back into a role I'd outgrown. You made your choice when you watched me get burned and said nothing. I've already rebuilt the parts of me you scorched. I don't need to do it again, he sighed. Long, heavy. Is there anything we can do? Yes, I said. Leave me alone. I meant it. Because there's a strange peace in walking away from people who only want to make things right when their own comfort is at risk. They hadn't changed. They were just exposed. And I wasn't their scapegoat anymore. Some mistakes cost you more than money. Some cost you relationships, trust, the version of yourself you once believed you were. And in Brielle's case, that mistake came with a $19,300 price tag and a wedding that never happened. But let's back up a bit. 3 weeks after the fallout, I was back at work, sipping lukewarm coffee and answering emails, when Harper messaged me. You're going to want to see this. She sent a link to the local society column, the kind Brielle used to obsess over. Breaking. Local real estate heiress splits from fiancé weeks before wedding. Underneath the headline was a blurry photo of Brielle storming out of a restaurant, phone clutched in her hand, mascara streaked. I stared at it for a minute, not with satisfaction, with clarity. She built her world on lies, bought loyalty, traded kindness for currency, and eventually it caught up with her. Carter, her ex, wasn't just out, he was loud about it. Told friends, mutuals, even his coworkers. Her name was mud in every circle she cared about. Ellie, meanwhile, had gone quiet. Deleted social media. Stopped showing up to family dinners, according to Harper's cousin. Word was, she'd moved in with a friend upstate. And no one had heard much since. My mom? She tried one more time. A card. Mailed. Inside was a check for $500 and a note in her flowy script. We hope this can help with the wedding cost. We're sorry. Love, Mom and Dad. I stared at it for a full minute before I laughed. Out loud. Because here's the thing. They thought it was about money. It was never about money. It was about value. About knowing I mattered. About showing up when it wasn't convenient. About standing next to me because you loved me, not because someone offered you a better deal. So I mailed the check back. No note. Just the check, folded in half. And then I deleted her number. These days, my life feels quiet in a way that's not empty, just clean. I go to brunch with Harper every Sunday. Noah and I are planning a weekend getaway to Asheville. The sun hits our living room just right in the mornings now, and we've started a new tradition, one we call peace coffee. No phones, no noise, just us, breathing, being. I haven't spoken to Ellie since the library meeting, and I don't plan to. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. But I've learned the most powerful kind of love isn't the one you beg for or bleed for. It's the one you build. With people who see you, choose you, and never make you question your worth. Family doesn't mean shared DNA or holiday dinners. It means loyalty, presence, respect. I didn't lose my family. I found the truth. And now, I live in it. Every damn day. The end. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you or someone you know ever been through something like this?